All right. Hello, everyone. J.R. Dukes at your service. I want to welcome all my free-minded friends. I definitely appreciate you joining me today. I am so excited to have another opportunity to chat with y'all. I have a few new things I'm going to try out and see how they work out. If you can hear me, just let me know real quick and let me know that I'm coming through nice and clear. We're going to give it just a minute, take care of some housekeeping things, and we are going to get right into it. I have a loaded action packed show. I don't know how much action there is, but definitely a lot of things to talk about, a lot of information. It is really important that we talk about these issues pertaining to Donald Trump and the lawfare state that we live in. It is extremely concerning. This is not hyperbole, it's not just talking points. These are issues that are near and dear to me. They should be the same way to you. And luckily, I'm at a point in my life right now where I have the time to set up a live chat like this. I have a little bit of money to purchase the software so I can have a bunch of people come in at one time. And it brings me joy. I appreciate having the opportunity to do this. So thanks for joining me. Let me just go through the chat here real quick. Make sure everybody's hearing me fine. Welcome to everyone that is viewing us on Facebook. I appreciate the individuals off of the X platform. I guess we don't say Twitter anymore, but thanks for joining me on X, Facebook, and Twitch. So everybody's is trickling in, so it is appreciated. I'm assuming everybody can hear me loud and clear. Mary, as always, I do appreciate you joining me today. Let's see. She should stop going to church. Yeah. How about that, Mary? Fannie Willis, sweet Fannie Willis, has went to church again. That's right. She went to church again. We're going to talk about it in just one second here. And of course, my friend Kim Griffith. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining us again today. It is my pleasure to have all of y'all in here. So let's start. Let's start talking about it. We have Fannie Willis of Fulton County fame. She just to give a quick background for anybody that may be new that is just now joining us. A quick reminder: go ahead, put the comments below. It may require you to hit the subscribe button, wait a few minutes, and then it will allow you to leave a comment. That's basically just to get out the trolls and to reward our subscribers, of course, that you can go ahead and leave a comment. I think that's only fair. And until I have a couple folks on staff that can help me moderate the live feed, I just want to do the best I can do to make sure it stays PG. Every once in a while, you get someone weird. And as the channel continues to grow, we're at risk for that. And I cannot do everything at the same time. When I start talking with you, I am focused on just that. I occasionally look over at the comments, especially for questions, but I'm sure y'all can relate to this. And I appreciate everybody's grace to give me a little bit of time as we go through these growing pains. Thanks to you folks, the channel has really taken off. We're approaching, I think, 5,000 subscribers as of right now today. It's not quite at 5,000. I think we're within 100, 150 or so, no more than 200 as far as hitting that mark. And obviously that's extremely exciting. I never thought I'd have a little YouTube channel, and I'm very blessed. I feel very blessed, and I'm grateful to YouTube. I know a lot of people say bad things about YouTube, and this type of this type of dialogue goes on all the time. I have had pretty general favorable reviews with YouTube, and if that changes, I'll let you know. But I also believe in being in other platforms, not just YouTube, because what if something happens and this channel's taken down or there's some problem? I want to have different ways of communicating with everybody, because I think this is a calling God's got me on, and I want to continue with this. With what I'm doing right now. So at any rate, without going off on too many tangents, hey, by the way, thank you so much, Colette. I hope I'm saying your name right. Yeloy. And joining us from Trinidad and Tobago. I would love to go to Trinidad and Tobago. I've been over at, where have I been? Grand Cayman and some of the islands over there. But I know that Trinidad, Tobago, beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful people, beautiful land. All right. Thanks again, everybody joining. Let's go ahead and let's see. The first thing I got on the agenda here is something new that I am going to try to keep myself organized. Y'all that have been visiting with me normally, or I should say on a regular basis recently, know that I have a tendency to kind of get on a tangent, and there's no telling where I'm going to go. I don't know. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. I don't know. But I want to try to keep myself just a little bit more focused. And I think something like this will work out. I'm just going to be using the software that comes with my Apple computer here. I think it's called, yeah, it's called Freeform. And it seems pretty cool. I think I like it. I don't know if y'all have any experience using it, but eventually I will have it to where we can interact directly on this, collaborate, I think is what they call it, if you are so inclined. If you think you might be interested in that, put it in the chat so I know how many people would follow along or want to have access to notes, because a lot of the research and things that I do that I have like in a PDF format, I'm thinking about throwing it on something like this and then sharing it with everybody that might be inclined to want to dig into that. Because if you're like me, you like the details, you like to dig in and see what kind of, I don't want to say dirt, but we'll say dirt, see what kind of dirt you can find, see what kind of information's out there. Who knows? So we'll see how that goes. Okay, thanks. I appreciate that, because y'all know me. This is not the channel for English lessons. I have I think I got a pretty decent education. I didn't quite complete college, but I made it almost 2 years. I did complete 3 semesters. I don't consider myself to be the smartest person in the world. However, I think I'm of reasonable intelligence, but I'm not the person that you want to turn to for dialect to learn each and every word and how to say everybody's names correctly. If I'm not sure of the name, I just tell you on the front end, and y'all just have to accept my apologies ahead of time. Matt, it's always good to have you. The trial. Okay, my understanding, that's a great question. My understanding is that what is going on is, first of all, this is becoming very complex and very involved as far as the judge is concerned. As you can imagine, this is a lot. This is a lot to take in. To answer your question directly, Matt, Friday. This Friday coming up is when it is scheduled for the court to make some kind of decision. The way I understand it is the judge is really thinking as what needs to be done, because the last witness, a guy, and let me show you his picture so y'all can kind of follow along with me here. This individual right here, right in the center of your screen where I'm rubbing the cursor over here, this guy is a center stage star. His name is Terrence Bradley. You may remember him from our conversations recently. And he is the ex-law partner of Wade, Nathan Wade, and one other gentleman whose name escapes me right now. This guy has, he has gone through great pains not to say anything negative about Nathan Wade. And it is clear, at least it's clear to me, there's obviously an effort, a conspiracy, a plan to try to not admit what we all know to be true. And that is Fani Willis and Nathan Wade are, or at least have been, engaged in a romantic, sexual, adult relationship. And in addition to that, they've got caught. And not only did they get caught, but I think it's pretty clear from the evidence that this relationship has clearly started before November 1st, 2021. And why is that important? Because they have sworn testimony that that is the reality. However, one of the witnesses has already stated that back in 2019, she witnessed these two together as a couple. And the second thing is with this William, this guy we were just talking about, this black gentleman here in the middle, he's a lawyer. As I said, he is the former partner of Nathan Wade, and he knows the truth. He knows what's going on, but he's hiding behind attorney-client privilege. Hey, I can't tell you this information because Nathan Wade allegedly hired him as a divorce attorney for Nathan Wade, involving his divorce from his soon-to-be ex-wife, Jocelyn Wade. And I know that's a lot to take in and somewhat confusing. That's the reason why I take pains to make sure I explain everything in detail. But the judge has a lot to take in, Matt. That's what I'm trying to come across with you. It is a lot for the judge to take in, and I don't envy the judge being in the situation that it is a lot. If you think about it, he's got all these different witnesses. He's got hostile individuals such as Fani Willis. She obviously has not been cooperative. She's been belligerent. If Donald Trump did that on the stand, what she's accused of doing, you could imagine they would have people on every news channel. They'd have people probably rioting in the streets. You just never know what they would have going on. But Fani Willis gets on the stage with her dress apparently backwards. She's hostile. She's barking at the judge. She's doing everything she can not to do what she's instructed. The judge is being, listen, I've been in court many times. I'm not an attorney, but just in my normal life as a business professional and with other clients of mine, I have just seen a lot of stuff in the courtroom. I have handled myself small claim type cases years ago, just because it was cheaper to do it. And at the time, I thought that was a good idea. As I've mentioned before, one time I may or may not have been a little pushy myself, nothing to the degree of Fani Willis, not even close. However, the judge will quickly, he'll tell you, if you say another word or if you continue down this path, I'm going to throw you in jail. It's just that simple. I am just absolutely stunned, and I mean stunned, that this judge did not tell Miss Willis, if you continue, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court and I'm going to have you incarcerated effective immediately. It's a real difficult position this judge is in. Imagine, first of all, it's an elected position. He's up for election, I believe, this year. He's a Republican, if my information that I have found is correct. However, he works in the same building every day with these people. These individuals are his colleagues. Imagine the people that you work with every day, and you essentially are their judge, literally. And you have a case of this type of importance. Your liability now has moved from just losing a case or just being embarrassed about a case. Now they are facing very real charges of criminal culpability. Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, at least can be brought up on charges, in my estimation, of perjury. And there are probably other crimes in there too. For example, Fani Willis has clearly admitted that she engaged in law, that not what she, and it's just as full. I feel for this, that I would not want to put the and how this process through. So let's go ahead. Let's get first thing I got here for us. You can the line that we have here. We have first thing I want to do is, and we're going to back and forth on how I voice hold, but in a nutshell, we're going to finish up of this Schaefer supplement motion. Remember, yesterday we went through the majority of it, but we had a little situation where, can you hear me okay? The audio may have clicked a second ago. I saw that on my screen, but it should be, you should be back now. So if not, let me know, because I don't want to keep talking and there's a deal. You sound like you're coming through on my end just fine. At any rate, are we still having an audio issue? Because it should be pretty clear as of right now. Let me just double check. Give me 1 second here. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I got this. Okay, 5x5. Thank you. I appreciate y'all letting me know. Again, I want y'all to give me just a little bit of grace sometimes on getting familiar with this new software that I'm trying out. I've been using StreamYard for some time, but it's still something that I don't claim to be an expert at any of this, but I think as time goes on, I'll get more familiar with it and it'll be pretty easy to use. So getting back to my screen, as you can see in front of me here, the only thing bad about doing a screen share is every time I hit something wrong or my screen, I switch it from one place to another, you're going to see your screen flashing. I don't know, maybe it doesn't bother you, but I'd rather just have one thing focused. And when I share the entire screen, it seems like it's easier than just sharing like a Chrome screen. All right, we're going to go into the motion with Mr. David Schaefer here. We're going to, I got a couple other motions we're going to look into if time allows. And most importantly, I love to show you these videos here. This is going to be great for us to drill into this on these videos, because Fannie Willis going to church for the second time, it just kills me. It just makes me think, who is she? What does she really believes? The nonsense, the garbage coming out of her mouth. Her hubris is just it. You know what? She is like a Donald Trump, to be perfectly honest with you, but she doesn't have the intelligence to back it up. And I'm just telling you the way I see it. And I'm not being racist. I know that anytime you're talking about a black female versus Donald Trump, I just want to be really clear. I'm just talking to you straight that this is my opinion. You can differ, and if you differ, put in the comments below, and we'll talk about it. But what I'm telling you is she's got that attitude where she's belligerent. She will defy any type of rule or any type of law. She doesn't think things apply to her that apply to everybody else. She acted in court the other day the same way Donald Trump acted when he went to court involving some of these other cases he's involved with. And I would encourage our former president not to do that. It's just not a good idea to do that. I have said before, and I'll say it again, when it comes to the men in the black robes, men and women in the black robes, you don't want to defy these people, folks. These people hold your life in their hands, literally. They hold all of your money, all your finances. Their word is nothing short of king when you're in their courtroom. If you didn't know that, I'm glad to be able to explain that to you, because it is a very serious thing if you cross these individuals. So anyway, we got this David Shafer supplement motion. David Shafer is one of the defendants in this particular thing. Oh, is there a breaking news? She's been disqualified? I'll have to give me more information on that. I'll check in that in a minute. But anyway, we've been drilling down into this David Shafer. He was the former chair, I believe, of the Republican Party there in Georgia, and Fannie Willis decided that I'm going to go ahead and indict him among a bunch of other people that she indicted. But I will say, Mr. Shafer here, he has come out swinging, him and his lawyer. He has a page set up, I believe, on X, where he is very, very focused on this case every single day, and he does not mix his words. He has a very aggressive strategy, which he should, because this is serious, a very serious situation. You may or may not know that if you are convicted in the state of Georgia of the crime of RICO, you got a problem, because you're going to go to jail for 20 years. Yes, 20 years. And I don't mean 20 years and you're out, and 2 years for good behavior because you're just a good old boy. It doesn't work like that. This is 20 years of hard time, no exceptions. And the judge has no leeway to say, gee, it was really someone else's fault. You kind of just were along for the ride, so to speak. So I'm going to depart from that 20 years. No, it doesn't work like that. And get this, the governor in the state of Georgia cannot pardon you for this crime. Can you believe that? I have never even heard of that before. Normally, just like the president of the United States can pardon someone for a federal crime at his or her absolute and sole discretion, it is non-reviewable by a court tribunal or another trier of fact. It is just their absolute and sole power, as the United States Constitution says. Additionally, on a state level, when it pertains to the governor, they have a very similar right. Every state, admittedly, does differ slightly, state to state. However, for any type of state crime, the governor can go ahead and give you a pardon. Not in the state of Georgia. If you're convicted for RICO, the governor has to wait at least 5 years before he's even able to consider a pardon and get that ball rolling. Can you believe that? That is really crazy. And listen, I've had people basically drop me an email or contact me one way or the other, and they're like, hey, JR, why is it that the Republican-controlled government in Georgia just doesn't shut this down? Well, the answer is real simple. First of all, they are looking at doing just that. They have a ton of different investigations going on right now as I speak, and they are heavily considering either shutting it down or pulling the funding. You know that the state has, or the state, they control the purse string. So there is a lot of different things that they could do if they wanted to put a stop to this. But here's the point I want to make: the reason why they're dragging their feet, especially the governor, Governor Kemp, Brian Kemp, I believe is the governor. Any idea why the reason is? Anybody want to guess before I tell you? Just put it in the comment if you have any idea. Why do you think the state of Georgia, which is controlled heavily by the Republicans, has not basically cut the cord on this, so to speak? Anybody have any idea? Okay, here's the answer. The answer is, and this is my humble opinion, I don't have like a piece of paper I can point to. What I will tell you is, unfortunately for former President Donald Trump, he PO'd these individuals really bad because Governor Brian Kemp, was the governor back when this perfect phone call happened. Remember, he said something to the effect of, find me 11,000 votes. That's basically what former President Donald Trump said to the Rossenberger guy, whoever was the Secretary of State at the time. He had I don't know why he did this, but he recorded the phone call that he was on with the president. So Donald Trump said, find. Now, a lot's been made up on that word find. What does find mean? Well, if you look it up in the Webster Dictionary, there's nothing criminal about find. You will have you'll have the legacy news media say stuff like, oh, he said to corruptly manipulate or manufacture votes. But that's not what he said. He said, find me these votes. Find means to double check, to look for, nothing to do with creating false votes. That's a subject for another day, but that is a powerful point in my estimation. But at the end of the day, here's the deal. They're mad. A lot of the Republicans that are in power in the state of Georgia, including but not limited to Governor Brian Kemp, they kind of want him just to twist in the wind, in my opinion, because they are very upset because Donald Trump leaned on the Secretary of State very heavily during that phone call. He made a big deal about it in the press and talking to everybody. And at the time, he was slamming the governor, Brian Kemp. So unfortunately for Donald Trump, he kind of made some enemies, or at least PO'd a bunch of people in the state of Georgia, which is highly unfortunate because the Republicans are going to have to unite eventually. If they don't unite, they're not going to have a party. They're not going to have a party that's going to win. So we'll just have to see how it is. And Kim, you're right. He may actually turn out to be a rhino. But I will say this. I don't want to start throwing rhino around too much. I will say, it's not that you're wrong, Kim. I would just caveat by saying that I understand why he's mad. I get that. I mean, let's be straight up about it. I love President Donald Trump. You guys know that. We have a lot of things we do love about him. But if I was on the receiving end of one of his tirades, I don't think I'd be too happy either. I'm sure you would probably agree with me on this. So, okay, Fanny Goes to Church. Let's get into it. I want to pull it up on a different screen because I just think it's going to be easier than the flickering back and forth. We're going to, and it's hard to find this. I believe it's on the X platform, but I found this on Rumble of all places, if you can imagine that. But it was covered by, though it's the Daily Caller that had it. I didn't really drill down too much to see what platform had the most, let's just say the entire sermon, but I found the most relevant parts. Remember, the first time she went to church that we know of was at the A&E, that black church that has a lot of history behind it. She shows up at this church and she effectively blasphemes from the church. I don't know what is going on with these people that allow her to have this type of platform to carry out her nonsense political agenda. But I mean, that's just the way I see it. Let's take a look at this here. I'm going to get into this video right now. So let me set the stage. This was last Saturday, and we have sweet Fannie Willis going to yet again another church. I think it's Berean, Breen Church. And you can listen to what she says, and then we'll talk about it. She just loves to do this. So
let me tell you something that I've learned very, very recently, because you may need this lesson as well. People keep sending me scriptures, and I appreciate those scriptures, but different people from all different walks of life keep sending me this one scripture, and I don't think I ever really heard it till to maybe 2 days ago. People send you stuff, you read them, they just kind of become things you recite, but you don't really think about what they say. The scripture they keep sending me is, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." I need y'all to hear me though. They did not say the weapons will not form. And that's the part I didn't hear until recently. Just because they won't prosper, it doesn't mean that they won't form. Even if you feel like everything you are doing in your life is the right thing, and you're making mistakes all along the way, but you're trying, you should not think that those weapons will not form. The other lesson that I've learned in this 3 years is God ordains those weapons. He puts those weapons in your life to form against you. And if you really understand him, you become in your maturity to understand he does it for a reason. And it's to grow you, and it's to make you.
Yeah, just a side note, Fanny, you would do better for yourself if you weren't sleeping with a married man. You would do better for yourself if you weren't committing perjury on the stand and lying to everybody and acting the way you act on the in front of the judge, in front of the court, in front of the world. If you took your oath of office seriously, you might do work that is more pleasing to God. I don't know. I'm just saying, folks.
Stronger, and it is to prepare you. And so my only request from this family today is, this is a really hard job I'm trying to do. And I am an imperfect human being, but I can literally.
Well, that's putting it mildly, ain't it? I'm an imperfect human being. That's probably the understatement of the year.
And so my only request from this family today is, this is a really hard job I'm trying to do. And I am an imperfect human being.
Amen.
But I can literally feel the people who loves me's prayers. If just.
I wonder if she was talking about Nathan Wade, but I digress.
Every now and again, you'll throw my name in a prayer. God hears his children. I would very much appreciate that. So I thank you for this honor today, because it is an honor worth having when it comes from a group of people such as the people that worship here. So thank you.
Isn't that really just ridiculous on so many levels, that you would have that type of gall to show up at a church? I don't understand why people give someone a platform like this, why these black churches are letting her do that. When I go to church, generally the preacher's looking after my soul, and I can assure you I need a lot of looking after. I have never been to church where someone has been up in the pulpit and they are talking like this, or they're trying to cover for their sins, or the way that they are abusing their office or abusing people. I mean, she deserves this scrutiny. She's not a victim. She's the one that chose to go after 20-some people, and I believe originally it was a lot more than that, and literally try to put them in a cage for 20-plus years. This is something that needs to be examined closely, and she deserved all of this coverage and all this examination. It's just hilarious how these people act like somehow they're the victim. I mean, what do you think? Am I wrong on this? It's just absolutely infuriating that these individuals have this type of attitude on this. I don't know. It's just an outrage, and it needs to be shown for what it is, as a nutty thing. I want to finish up briefly on before we get into the next video. I want to finish up this motion that relates to this Fannie Willis case. It's not going to take us long. Should be able to slip right into it. Let me go ahead and share the screen with you guys, because we need to understand exactly what everybody's position is when they file these papers, because they do a good job of breaking it down for each and every one of us. I mean, I'm just being straight up with you about it. There's some smart people that wrote this stuff up. I just got to find the right page here. so that we can have finish our discussion about it. I appreciate, by the way, all the comments that I did receive concerning the our coverage of this PDF last night, because it is very important that you understand it. And if you don't understand it, as I've said many times, please take time and let me know exactly what it is that you'd like to see me cover more, because I don't want to be in a situation to where someone doesn't understand something. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen with you right here. And I'll go through your comments here in a minute. I see there's a lot of comments coming in. Linda, I'll help you with whatever you're asking. Let's just finish this up, and then we'll take a few minutes and go over that. So, all right, we're going to pick up where we left yesterday. This looks like it's working good. All right, I'm going to start right up here again, where you see the highlighting part here. All right. A lawyer shall not knowingly make a false statement of material fact or law to a tribunal, or offer evidence that a lawyer knows to be false. If the lawyer has offered material evidence and comes to know of its falsity, the lawyer shall take reasonable remedial measures. When you are practicing law and you are given the privilege, it's not a right, it's a privilege. It's not that you go to school for 4 years plus 2 years, you get your degree in law. I believe they call it a jurisprudence degree, and automatically you are granted as a right the ability to go to court. It does not, or the ability to practice law. It does not work like that. It is truly a privilege. You have to be a person of a certain character. You have to have no issues with what they call moral turpitude, which basically means you have to be a good person. If you are a person that's been found to be a liar, a perjurer, someone that basically has a bad reputation, the state bar is not, at least they should not, give you a license. And that's one of the big risks that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade are definitely facing. They have the real possibility of not only losing this case at this point, they have a very, very real possibility that they could be disbarred. And I really think there's a grave situation that they could face criminal issues with maybe even contempt if they keep acting the way they're acting, but definitely perjury is number one on my list. The ultimate irony of this is at the end of the day, you talk about a RICO case that should have never been brought. Well, if there is a RICO case that was designed for mobsters, not designed for this type of stuff, but if you're going to apply it to this type of case, this is RICO. This is what Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, and all these individuals are doing. This is a RICO. You have a group of people conspiring to engage in illegal activity. That's what this is. So, all right, we're continuing on right here. So the second part is, and they're getting this out of the Georgia Rules of Professional Conduct right up here. This is section 3.3, geared towards tribunals. All right. So let's see what we got here. Number or B, the duties stated in paragraph A continue to the conclusion of the proceeding, and apply even in compliance requirements, or I'm sorry, and apply even if compliance requires disclosure of information otherwise protected by Rule 1.6. The maximum penalty for a violation of this rule is disbarment. I will say this. When I was a lot younger, I actually thought about going to school to become an attorney. One of the reasons that I decided not to go in that direction was disbarment. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Imagine a life to where you make one mistake, one problem happens. You have a group of people that can literally say, for now on, sir, the only thing you could ever do at most is be a paralegal. And I mean, I'm not going to say this was the deciding factor. I had other interests. But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you it didn't cross my mind. And when you sign on to be a lawyer, no problem about that. One of my best friends is a former criminal defense attorney out of Dallas, Texas. And, that's one of the reasons I know what I know pertaining to the law. Is just the conversations we've had over the years and some of the cases he's handled for me. And no, it was not pertaining to criminal matters, but he not only practiced criminal law, he also did a lot of, let's just say, general civil litigation. Contract type law was the main thing I was interested in. But he was good enough and this was back like in the 1990s. He was good enough because I was interested in the law. He would let me tote around like as a paralegal for him, just kind of like as an assistant while he was putting on cases, or I should say, he was trying cases. Just interesting. I really enjoyed my experience. He's a really, really great guy and a good friend, and it was something I don't regret that I did. All right, let's see. As the state bar comments to Rule 3.3 state, a lawyer must not allow the tribunal to be misled by false statements of law or fact or evidence that the lawyer knows to be false. What they're trying to do here, they're making the point, or Schaefer's making the point in his supplemental motion, that Willis and Wade, among everything else that they've been doing and they're accused to have done criminally and otherwise, are violating the very rules, the very foundation on which the practice of law was built. And they're pointing out directly that they're violating these state bar rules. If they knew, or when they know, that something is a lie pertaining to Fani Willis and Nathan Wade and their relationship, they have a duty themselves to tell the court, hey, we've been messing around. We've been having a long-term sexual relationship. And when they lied to the court by saying that, no, nothing happened until I was actually hired to be the special prosecutor, and then sometime later we fell in love and had this relationship, everybody knows that's a bunch of muck. And the fact that they keep digging this hole and lying in this hole, they really have a real chance of losing their law license, among other issues. That's just my opinion. We'll see where this goes. But I wouldn't trade places with either one of them. All right. A lawyer must not allow a tribunal to be misled. And a tribunal, by the way, is like a court or any body, any organization that essentially gets together for some reason, generally to handle law. It can be something like a code enforcement or a city council or any kind of administrative law type of procedure. Must not allow the tribunal to be misled by false statements of law or fact or evidence that the lawyer knows to be false. And then they cite a case. Whenever you see this type of wording right here, what's important to a court is consistency, among other things. So the way it was explained to me years ago, there's the law, we can read the law, thou shalt not, whatever, right? And then the second thing that's really more important than the written law is, how is the law interpreted? And that's what the courts do. That's why you see all the fighting back and forth. So when you see something like this right here, see, it says GARPROF. Okay, it's an abbreviation for a book that you can go find a case law in, or in this situation here, it's actually more simple. It's abbreviated. It stands for Georgia Rules of Professional Conduct 3.3, whatever, number 2. And they're also referencing a case. This is what I was talking about. See this Miller versus State right here? Let me make sure I can highlight it so you know what I'm talking about. This Miller versus State. Okay, whenever you see that, they're talking about a case. There was a case with somebody with last name Miller versus probably the state of Georgia. Okay, and the way you find the case, if you want to look it up, well, truthfully, nowadays you can just go to your computer. Did you know there's an AI assistant for attorneys now? You talk about awesome. I was playing with it a couple weeks ago just for fun, and it's amazing. You can tell the computer now to find case law for you that pertains to contractual law related to whatever, and it actually will do it for you, and it will write a brief. It's just amazing. I don't know if you like that stuff the way I like it, but I love that type of stuff. I enjoy it. Can't really say any more than that. All right. When you see it 295, okay, that means essentially page 295, GA 769, all right, well, the 295 might be the book. Every law book, you ever go to attorney's office, you see all these books on the back shelf? That's what those are. Those are case law files. And especially before computers and definitely before AI, that's exactly what you had to do. You generally wanted to have the law books on file, the information close, so you could go right to the case law to find something to convince a court to see a position your way. So stating that Rule 3.3 prohibits a lawyer from offering evidence that the lawyer knows to be false. he or she possesses an obligation as an officer of the court to prevent the trier effect, again, the judge, the trier effect, the jury, from being misled by false evidence. And again, we have Georgia rule, professional conduct. They're going further into it. Legal argument based on a knowingly false representation of law constitute dishonesty towards the tribunal. So they're saying, Judge, it's already been ruled by the courts before that if you engage in a legal argument and you know that these are false representations, you have engaged in dishonesty towards the court. And this is an offense punishable by disbarment, the loss of your law license. I mean, it really doesn't get a more serious punishment for a lawyer than to lose their law license. As far as a civil context, obviously there's always imprisonment, and that's a whole different ballpark. But as far as a financial situation, when you lose your license, you pretty well lost everything. Just like Donald Trump in the New York case with Judge Engoron, they were looking at, and they still reserve the right for the financial death penalty for Donald Trump's companies there in New York. Effectively, the judge says, thou shalt cease to exist. And that's exactly what happens in these types of situations here. So, all right. It says Georgia rule of professional conduct 3.4 relating to fairness to opposing parties and counsels furthermore provides in relevant part that a lawyer shall not counsel or assist a witness to testify falsely. Folks, these are rules that are just fundamental, like it's class 101. When you are practicing law, you are what's called an officer of the court. Have you ever heard that term before? It's been thrown around at least once or twice that I heard it during this Fani Willis case. What this essentially means is this is not about winning. You're a lawyer. You are an officer of the court. I don't care if you're the prosecutor. I don't care if you're the defense attorney. You must act in a certain way. You cannot coach your client how to be a liar and get away with it. Prosecution, you cannot coach your witnesses how to send this guy to jail or how to word things in such a way to where we can fine these people money or we can cause a problem for this individual. It's not allowed. It's just the way it is. Just like Fani Willis's father, she had a duty, her office had a duty to notify her father that the rule had been invoked. Period. And they failed to do that. Her father, the father of Fani Willis, I forgot his name off the top of my head. I guess it's Mr. Willis. No, I'm not trying to make a joke, but at any rate, they were supposed to, and he's a lawyer too. He should have known all of this. And I guess he did know it because he said, Judge, I'm not under subpoena. So there was no rule that I was under. But that's not true. The judge, when he invoked the rule, they call it the rule, he said, each party, each side has to let their witnesses know not to talk to one another, not to watch TV, radio, newspaper, whatever, until I tell you otherwise and discharge you from your responsibility to be under the rule. I mean, imagine if you are being tried for something and the witnesses are in the same courtroom that you're in. And every time someone gives testimony, well, guess what? The next person behind them already knows what someone else said. That would not be fair. And obviously they don't allow it. But Fani Willis's father, he admitted on the stand at the very end, yeah, I was there when Fani Willis was talking with her attorneys and I was part of the conversation. They were getting all their ducks in a row. The judge did not say this, but in so many words, that just essentially just put a big old strike through Mr. Willis, Fani Willis's father's testimony. I mean, that was the end of it. Boom, over with. So, all right. Mr. Schaefer, which is, of course, the defendant filing this particular motion through his attorney, and the other defendants to this action, possess due process rights to disinterested prosecutor. And then again, as I mentioned, they're citing the case law on this. It's C. Young versus U.S. blah, blah, blah. And anytime you see U.S., it's talking about the United States of America, and that is going to be generally a federal case. But federal case law is also admissible in state case law because they want continuity. They want things to flow. It goes on to say that the prosecution has a special duty not to mislead. The government should, of course, never make an affirmative statement contrary to what is known to be the truth. Now, what is an affirmative statement contrary? Well, an affirmative statement is saying that this is what happened. I swear this is what has happened, but they know that it's a lie. So the prosecution cannot get up there and tell the court A, B, and C, and they know flat out it's a lie. It's a violation of the rules. It's a violation. Well, it's a violation of the law. Technically, it's in the case law. You're not allowed to do that. And they cite another case right here, United States versus Universa, all the way back from 1962. When you see the year right there, that was the year it was decided. So if you're ever interested in testing what I was just talking about, the highlighted part, you can go ahead and just type it into Google or copy it into Google, and it will essentially show you what book this came from, that it's published in case you're ever interested in learning how to look up case law. It's kind of interesting if you like doing that type of thing. All right, the defendants have raised serious grounds in support of disqualification of the district attorney and her office, and the defendants' allegations must be taken seriously by the court and the state in order to preserve public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the administration of justice. And again, they have cited a 1995 case, and they talk about quoting the preamble, chapter 1 of another case. It goes on to say, any knowing untrue statement submitted by or on behalf a prosecutor in responding to a disqualification challenge should be held to constitute misconduct amounting to forensic misconduct and should be found to constitute an additional ground for disqualification. Now, all this is just other ways of saying everyone, especially the prosecution, has a duty to be dealing in good faith, to be honest, not to be lying. Technically, a prosecutor's job should not be to try to throw an individual in jail. Their job is the fair administration of justice. During the trial, for example, if a prosecutor found a piece of evidence that they know exonerates the defendant, they have a duty. It's the law. They must immediately notify the court. If they have to stand up in the middle of court and say, Your Honor, we need to talk, I have information, and they have to go into it and explain it. It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, nowadays, just like this Fani Willis case shows us clearly that unfortunately that's not what we're interested in this country anymore. What we're interested in right now is taking down Donald Trump, to get Trump, as Alan Dershowitz would say. That's all they're interested in. How can we get Trump? How can we make him a felonious individual, make things so painful for him where he is not able to run for president, not able to run for president? We got to find a way to get him off the ballot. We got to find a way to stop him because we are afraid of him. If we don't put a stop to him, then we are going to have another President Trump. And we can't have that. This is what these loons are telling themselves, and they've convinced themselves that they're doing God's work. And that's just nonsense. Absolutely incredible. Okay, the conclusion on this here. Based upon the facts and authorities that set forth herein, and in defendants David J. Schaefer's motion to disqualify the district attorney for Fulton County, Georgia, Atlanta Judicial Circuit, the district attorney's office from further prosecution of this action, defendant David J. Schaefer respectfully requests that the court grant defendant's motion to disqualify the district attorney of Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta Judicial Circuit, and the district attorney's office from further prosecution of this case and order that Fulton County, Georgia, Atlanta Judicial Circuit, District Attorney Fani T. Willis and her office are disqualified from representing the state of Georgia in this action. What does this mean? Kick her butt off here. I want you to kick Fani off this case. That's exactly what they're saying. Respectfully submitted, 13th day of February. This is new stuff right here that we have been watching. And of course, you see the attorneys here. This is their actual bar number. They're required to put their bar number. It's like a license number, and put it with their pleadings. And you can see exactly who the attorney is that's representing this individual right here. And they have their information. This is pretty standard stuff, how they file it. And then whenever you file a motion, frankly, whenever anything happens, as far as a court proceeding is concerned, you have to give the other side a copy. And the way you do that is you can email it. It depends on the court, and it depends on their local, what they call their local rules of procedure. But you have to give it to the other side. And the way you let the court know, hey, I have fulfilled my obligation to give the other side a copy, you fill out this form right here. You basically just make it up yourself. It's called a certificate of service. And it's really simple. I hereby certify that I, on this 13th day of February, 2024, filed the foregoing filing with the court using the court's Odyssey e-file Georgia system, serving copies of the filing on all counsel of records in this action, and furthermore have sent a copy of the filing to the parties and the court. So nowadays, it's even easier, especially in the state of Georgia. Apparently, you can use their electronic e-file Georgia system. It's just wonderful how that is. You have more and more options, or I should say, things are just so much easier nowadays with all this technology and stuff that we have. I mean, you don't even have to really mail anything anymore. It looks like their local rules right there allow you just to go ahead and send it to whomever. It's just an amazing world, all these little blessings we got going on here. Briefly, I want to look at these exhibits that were attached to this. Some of this we may have already went over, but they wanted to attach exhibits so that the court could look at the entire document should they wanted to see it for whatever reason. We talked yesterday about interrogatories, and briefly, remember, these are questions that they send the other side to get discovery. Discovery is very critical when it comes to divorce actions, or frankly, any type of civil action and criminal matters. They also have some kind of form of discovery that takes place. The idea is that at trial, there shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be, gee, who's going to win this case? Both sides should know exactly what is going on. And when everybody knows the strength of their case, it generally has a heavy tendency for things to settle. Matter of fact, one of my sons today, he lives in Texas, San Antonio. He was selected for jury duty, and it was some kind of big civil case. He went down there today to serve his jury duty, and when he got down there, it turned out that they settled this morning, and he was sent home. Thank you for your service. You've completed your obligation. Goodbye. And that happens all the time. The vast majority of cases are settled out of court. Obviously, this case ain't going to be settled for anything, but generally settling is something that they do a lot of. So, all right, at any rate, would like this first question, please identify any and all expert and or lay witnesses you propose to present at any hearing or final trial in the above case. Indicate for each witness their name, their address. This is very standard, folks. This is very normal. They cite the law, OCGA. OCGA, by the way, stands for my highlighter's not picking up everything because this is a bad copy, but OCGA is Official Code of Georgia Anointed, Section 91128, Section B, Subsection 4, Subsection A. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun to read, don't it? Which includes information as to the subject matter on which this witness is expected to testify. So in other words, when you have a case going to trial, you got to say, hey, here's all my expert witnesses. Here's their names. Here's where they can be contacted at. And we want to know what they're going to say. You have to tell the other side that. Very, very standard stuff. And of course, the answer was none. It says, please identify all persons whom you know or believe have knowledge. This is also very, very important. They also want to know the assets and value of assets accumulated during the marriage. This obviously has to do with the divorce hearing for Nathan Wade and his wife, Jocelyn. And let's say number 3, what do you contend was the cause or causative separation? Let's see if you put anything for that. Just irreconcilable differences. We all know what that's all about. Just that ain't going to work out. So this is where he gets in trouble, by the way. So I'm going to touch on this briefly. Like number 1, describe each instance in which you have had sexual relations with a person other than your spouse during the course of the marriage, including the period of separation, providing the complete contact information for each and every such person and a complete description of the sexual relations, including but not limited to date, time of day, persons present, location where the sexual relations took place, and the location of your spouse during the sexual relation, if known. Such sexual relations to include without limitation. You can read it right there, sexual intercourse. I'm not going to read the rest because of YouTube monetization policies, but kissing, fondling, and then it's very descriptive. And of course, Nathan, he says he wasn't having any fun. None was his answer. And unfortunately for him, folks, when you sign these documents, you're signing under penalty of perjury, as we discussed yesterday. That's the reason why they have to be what they call verified, which means they are signed in front of a notary, and it states that you understand this is under penalty of perjury. And this is a serious matter. You know what's ironic about this whole situation? Fani Willis and Nathan Wade right now are prosecuting many individuals in this RICO action for perjury. They're in this perjury trap because they allegedly engaged in actions to help Donald Trump or help other defendants in this case by lying, by purging themselves. And then you have an individual like Fani Willis and Nathan Wade saying, no, I didn't do anything. I'm telling you the truth. And then they're prosecuting people for the same crime. And Nathan Wade specifically, Nathan Wade specifically was like, Judge, this is him on the stand, right? Oh, Judge, we split up in 2015. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I, we split it back in 2015. And when I read that question, I was thinking to myself, well, our marriage was over in 2015. So when I read that interrogatory, I wasn't thinking that we are still married. Now, listen, folks, he is a licensed attorney, a highly educated man. He knows better than that. And not only that, the interrogatory itself, and it's not going to highlight here, but right here where my cursor is, it says, during the course of the marriage, including the period of separation. So that argument's not going to hold water. And then remember, he comes back and he re-answers these interrogatories by essentially claiming the Fifth Amendment. List all your personal, list all your property, real or personal, you claim is your separate property. And he says just personal clothing. State, and let's see what it say, state with specificity, if I get that word out, the amount of cash you have in your possession, including any safe and or safe deposit box, $2,300. Now, this is kind of interesting because Fani Willis is saying how much cash she always has. And Nathan Wade was saying, oh, yeah, I received the cash and I never put the cash in the bank and I've never taken out cash. But he only has $2,300 in cash at this particular time that he can put his hands on. I don't know if that means in the bank. He didn't really specify. It just says in his possession. Just kind of an interesting little nugget right there for you to kind of contemplate. Please provide the username for all email accounts, personal accounts, social media accounts, dating websites. I mean, I'm just telling you, this is really, really intrusive, ain't it? Your cellular devices for picture. Wow. Used by you. We want to know the personal use of what you use everything for, the apps used on your cellular devices for pictures or videos, including but not limited to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, eHarmony, Match.com, Lincoln, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Social, Tinder, Hinge, OnlyFans from November 1st, 2016 through the date of trial. Wow. You got to tell her who the authorized user is. Oh man, isn't that just terrible? So And then respectively submitted Nathan J. Wade. If you noticed, he did not sign this. This is what they talked about earlier in the motion. He's an attorney. He knows better than this. My opinion, he purposely left off a signature here so he didn't get himself into a trap, perjury trap. So we'll have to just see how this all irons up. It's really, really stunning. Nathan Wade in Superior Court of Cobb County. Now this, if you notice the tag on it, this is relatively new. These stamps that you see right here, when you file something with the court, now this was e-filed, but generally a lot of attorneys I know, especially when it's an important motion or the actual filing of the suit, they simply take the paperwork to the courthouse because they want a stamped copy for their records. And this is what a general stamp looks like. I would imagine in some jurisdictions now, they may stamp it and send it back to you via PDF on your computer for a fee, which is probably a good idea just to have the file stamped copy. But this next section, defendants, Rule 5.2 certificate. So this is what we were talking about earlier. You've got to prove that you sent it, especially a discovery motion, because you only have, for example, 30 days in which to answer timely interrogatories or certain types of discovery motions. So, and then we have, so we got our plaintiff's objections and responses to see, I just want to see what the day you've got. Nathan Wade, Joss. Okay, yeah. All right. Plaintiff's objections and responses to defendant's notice to plaintiff to supplement discovery pursuant OCJ 911. Okay. Well, here's the deal on this here without getting too bogged down in the weeds here. If you choose not to provide an answer, then you got to tell the court why. Do you object for some legal reason that you're allowed to object to? For example, I want to plead the Fifth Amendment. Or you can also file with the court essentially a motion for protection. And you can tell the judge that, hey, this is just like it says right here, that, it violates my privacy, or more importantly, it's intended to, again, these copies are real bad, so the computer's not recognizing the words, but I'll point to it and read it. Basically, it's to annoy, embarrass, oppress, unduly burden, or unduly cause expense to the plaintiff, or would be, okay, and that's where they cut it off. And then you can see where he's changing his responses. His original response was irreconcilable difference. His updated response says, the defendant had an affair with Mr. J. Fitzgerald from approximately 21. So this is his wife disclosing who she had an affair with. That's rather interesting, ain't it? You never heard anything about him. This J. Fitzgerald, 2015. So I guess that's true on their affair. That's interesting. Or I should say his soon-to-be ex-wife. Upon learning this, the plaintiff confronted the defendant with this information and informed her that the marriage was over. The parties agreed to remain together and cohabitate and co-parent until their youngest child graduated from high school and went to college. The party's youngest child graduated from high school in 2021 and went to college in the fall of 2021. Shortly thereafter, plaintiff filed for this action. Folks, it is a human tragedy that they obviously had problems and they ended up having a divorce. They were married for approximately 26 years. So I don't want to show a complete lack of any empathy or emotion for Nathan Wade, or for that matter, his soon-to-be ex-wife, Jocelyn Wade. I'm sure they have problems like we all have problems. And if you didn't notice, Nathan Wade had a cancer diagnosis apparently back in 2020. They did not, to my knowledge, disclose the nature of his cancer. But to me, it sounded like they were hinting that he has some kind of prostate cancer. That would be my guess. He's a black man. He's in that age group, and that's a very common cancer if you have cancer at that particular age. And the reason I say that is because he was trying to say the reason he could not have been with Fannie Wilf sexually back in 2020 was because he was going through cancer treatments for a cancer that would affect his ability to have a relation. So you can connect the dots on that. I have no doubt to believe that for the most part, what he said was true. However, one of the defense attorneys were very successful in my mind in cross-examining Nathan Wade, because he pointed out, hey, you didn't have to stay in a sterile environment, did you? Because Nathan Wade was like, I had to stay home. I had to stay sterile. in a sterile place, so I didn't pick up any kind of virus or germ or whatever. But this defense attorney successfully pointed out that, hey, you were all over town. You went on vacations. You were at a car dealership. You were this, you were that. I mean, it was pretty. I think it was a pretty good job of cross examining him. So, folks, the problem with somebody like this, though, is that he chose to go after the president of the United States, the former president of the United States, and the leading candidate to be the next president of the United States. So I don't think there's much more here. Let me just briefly make sure. Yeah, okay, it's signed. Dupree, Kimbrough, and Carr. Yeah, all right. All right, well, and then the certificate of service. I think that's it on this document. Yeah. I don't want to give anybody the impression that like somehow there's no feelings on my side, no empathy on my side for his struggle that he's going through. But when you decide that you're going to go after former president of the United States, one of the most powerful men in the world, at least arguably one of the former most powerful individuals in the world, you better have your house in a row and you're fair game for people to go after you and to investigate you and check into you. And it's clear to me that he lied. You cannot lie as an attorney. You cannot lie as a citizen on the stand. You just can't do that. If you do, you're going to face serious consequences, as you should. And unfortunately for him, it looks like Fani Willis and Nathan Wade are once again going to be another group of people that ended up having serious problems as a result of going after Donald Trump. And I've had people contact me, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, remember, what was that guy's name? Michael Abernathy or whatever his last name was, if I'm saying it correctly. He was on TV like almost every day, especially on CNBC, even Fox News and other places. And he was like, I'm in Donald Trump's head. He can't do anything without thinking about me. I guarantee you, I keep him up at night. Every night. He was the original attorney for Stormy Daniels, which is the reason Stormy Daniels and the way the hush money was paid is the reason why there's a trial currently in New York City, or at least scheduled in New York City. I believe it's scheduled to start March 26th or something around that time frame. And of course, I'll be covering it right here for you in excruciating detail as usual. But the fact of the matter is that there is this history of individuals that has came out publicly against Donald Trump and they regretted it. There's a individual by the name of Mosley, right out of Pittsburgh area. She came after him and was going to go after him criminally and do all kinds of things to wreck his world. She is currently having problems. I think she was just found guilty the other day for some kind of mortgage fraud, and she faces another trial. I'll have more information about that coming up in the very near future because it is something that has to be discussed, and I think it's important for us all to understand exactly what happens when stuff like this. If you're going to go after somebody, better make sure you're not living in a glass house. And other reports that I have personally seen, videos I've seen, it's clear to me that Nathan Wade has a history doing this type of behavior, at least let's just say lying. I think that's about the easiest way to say it. Lying. They have a history, Fani Wade and Nathan. Essentially, the allegation is that Fani Willis is basically funneling favorable contracts to Nathan Wade. And I'm sure she's getting a little bit of a kickback. And if that's true, that's called honest service fraud. And you can get in serious problems with that. The Department of Justice has thrown individuals in prison for simply receiving airplane tickets in relation to some kind of honest service fraud. So it is a serious matter. And let's take a quick peek at some of these comments here. Then I want to get back into the next video that I want to go on. And remember, they're supposed to start back up on this next Friday. So it's going to be interesting to see if the judge is going to allow or want more testimony, because and we're going to get into it in the video, so I'll save it for then. But he has some decisions he has to make, and then at a minimum, they have to have closing arguments. That's something that has to go forward. They have to have actual closing arguments, and then after the closing arguments, the judge is probably going to take 2 or 3 weeks to decide exactly what he wants to do. in this case, and I don't envy him trying to make this decision. Either way, this case is toast. This case is over. There's no way this case is going to go forward and have any kind of successful conclusion. And Diane, you're right. It's Michael Avenatti. That's exactly right. He's currently serving 19 years in the federal penitentiary, and that's hard time. You don't get out for extra credit on that. 19 years, hard time, period. And I don't know about you personally. I just didn't like that guy at all. He just made my skin crawl. I think he's one of these individuals that, and it happens to a lot of people. They get in the public eye, they get famous, and fame is a drug. I mean, it is. It makes you feel really good. It just makes you just want it. You just crave it. I think it was Henry Kissinger that said he said that fame was the greatest aphrodisiac. And I believe that. Look at all the beautiful girlfriends and women he's had over the years. And I don't know if you've seen him when he was older. He definitely was not that good looking of a man. And in my opinion, he wasn't an attractive man back when he had all these very, very famous and very beautiful women. But it's kind of like he said, he was the Secretary of State for many years. He was a powerful man himself. And, it's attractive, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it is. So, all right, let's take a few minutes before we get into our video with Megyn Kelly, who I love. Let's go ahead and take a few of these comments here. I appreciate everybody visiting with me today, and if you haven't done so already, please take a moment, hit the thumbs up button. If y'all would do that, I sincerely would appreciate you doing that. It helps with the algorithm, and it just helps the channel out in general. If you have any questions, leave them right now, because I'm going to go through them here and see what I can or can't answer. All right, let's try to see if we can figure this out. Okay, Rick, thanks for joining us today, Rick. How did Fannie get $8 million in the bank property in several states, thousands in cash in her home, and she was flat broke 3 years ago? Yeah, I've heard questions like that. That would be something I hope somebody would drill down on and get to some information on that. As a matter of fact, that's a very important part of this case, because if they can prove one way or the other that she financially benefited 1 cent from this case, put a fork in her, she's done. Now, I personally think they've already met that standard, because as I've been talking about, attorneys, prosecutors in general, you're not supposed to even have the appearance of anything improper. That's the reason why I say this case is toast. Nobody wants a case after one lawyer has been kicked off it. She was the only DA that decided she was going to go forward with this type of nonsense of a case. There's really no real substance to it. She shouldn't have never brought this case. She's supposed to be this RICO whiz. And if she's kicked off it, it's just over with. Because at the best, the best for Fannie would be she's kicked off the case along with Nathan Wade in her office. It goes to another attorney, to another prosecutor. And the thing is, folks, he or she could just sit on it indefinitely. They don't have to go forward with it. They can just say, "Oh, I'm reviewing it." And it just more and more time. The expression I like to use is that you don't really need an attorney at law. You need an attorney at stall, because justice delayed is justice denied. And the speedy trial is not the government's right. It's your right if you choose to exercise it. So oftentimes, depending on what's going on, delay is your best friend. And a lot of the times, whether it's a civil matter or a criminal matter, the only exception to that in my mind would be is if your rear end is sitting in jail, then you might not want to go the slow approach. However, sometimes the slow approach is the best approach. So, Rick, the long way around your question is I don't know. But also remember, on the stand, she made the specific comment that she had a tax lien on her property, $5,000 or $6,000. I wonder where the money came in to pay that also. That's kind of an interesting thing to look at. But thanks for that comment, Rick. You're right on it, bud. And yeah, okay, on this deal here, Lalo, yeah, she's been disqualified for, what's one thing I can tell you for sure. there's a video I produced a few weeks back where she has already been in trouble for misbehavior. So this is not her first rodeo in this case. Look back at my video list if you haven't heard of this particular story, but the short version is this. One of the people she wanted to indict, and the judge said no, he threw it out or wouldn't allow her to indict him, whatever the situation was. She wanted to go after a particular person. And the funny thing is, this particular individual was okay. So, what she did, she held a fundraiser for the opponent of an individual she wanted to indict. Can you imagine that? Isn't that absolutely insane? That's exactly what she wanted to do. Give me 1 second. I get some water in me here. It's amazing how talking a lot will make you a little thirsty, but I guess that's the way it goes. So here's what Fani Willis did. There was a individual that was running against a friend that some kind of friend that she had. So what she did is the one guy she tried to put in jail, and her friend that was running against the guy she's trying to incarcerate, she held a fundraiser for him. Now, if that's not a conflict of interest, if that's not improper, I don't know what is. Can you imagine that? Hey, come on out and vote for my friend, and don't worry about the other guy. I'm going to throw his fanny in jail. Pun intended. Crazy, crazy on there. Yeah, you talking about Fani Willis? Yeah, I did not know that, but that surprises me because when she speaks, I don't hear the most intelligent sounding individual I've ever heard when she's talking with the church and giving a speech. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I'm a perfect English speaker myself, but I'm just telling you, she does not sound very very well spoken is probably the best way I can say it. Just my opinion. And she was disqualified. Yeah, that back in 2020. I don't know if that's the same case I was talking about, but I appreciate that. Yeah, we talked about that. Okay, Linda, it's like everything is coordinated when she takes that space of her. Did the judge make up his mind? I think you're asking me like everything is coordinated when she take that space of her. The judge has not made up his mind, Linda, on anything yet. Like I said, the court's going to be essentially thinking about it or in recess until this Friday. But don't worry, make sure you follow the channel here, which I know you're a follower of the channel. And I appreciate that, by the way. Thanks to each and everybody that's a follower of this channel. It does mean a lot to me, and I appreciate it. But just stay tuned. We'll get to it. Yeah, and how she get into Harvard? That's a good question, too. Who knows? I've heard all kinds of rumors and allegations that I have yet to even start to scratch the surface on. So looks like a crafted PR stunt. Yeah, very possibly, Kim. Susan, thanks for joining us today. It's called Thick Skin. Yep, I agree. A&J Smooth 49. Do my people who get, because they got power, they can do what they want to do and expect to get away with it. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Mr. and Mrs. Smooth 49. That's exactly right. They have I honestly believe this too. I think people, when it's not everybody, but some people, what's the old expression? Power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. I believe that. I definitely believe that. You have to be a strong-minded individual with a good sense of morals if you're going to be in that type of position, because when you have all these accolade and praises and special attention given to you, it can go to your head quickly. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I've seen it happen to people many times, and it's a red flag if you have a friend or even a partner and you notice that a little bit of attention or a little bit of success kind of rubs off on them the wrong way. Take it for what it is. Yep. Infuriating, Linda. You're exactly right. Susan, Linda. Yeah. Okay. Well, then, I believe the Harvard thing. I'm just a little surprised. My friend. Yeah. American Nana. Hello from West Virginia. Appreciate you joining me as always there, hon. Yeah, Howard. Okay. All right. Thanks, Linda, for that. Let's see what else we got here briefly. Yep, no problem. I hear you, Mr. Smooth 49, Mr. Miss Me. My friend Lilo. Show it's okay, she was disqualified back in 2020. Was that I wonder if you're talking about the same thing I was talking about a minute ago, if that was something else she was disqualified on. If you want to put that in the comments, I'll take a look at it. She's a repeat offender, I'm sure. I'm sure felony Fanny. You know, it just amazes me. Do you think people actually believe that they can fool everybody like that? You know, like, oh, we paid cash. Nathan would, yeah, I would buy stuff from my business credit card and I would enjoy it with Miss Willis, but she always paid me back half. Yeah, oh, by the way, Judge, it was she paid me back half. It was in cash. And no, I never gave her a receipt for any of that. I never put any of that in the bank. Fannie Willis does not have any receipts showing that she paid Nathan Wade back for anything, nor does she have any receipts at all showing one time that she took cash out of the bank, nor do either of them have one receipt ever showing that they deposited cash in the bank. That's what you call something, right? That's something. So, but how does Fannie handle that? Well, of course, they play the race card again. And the summary of that is we're black folks. You know how that is. We're black. We keep money in the house. That's essentially her defense. Absolutely outrageous and below the dignity of that office. Just absolutely insane. All right, my friend Norma in church again. Hallelujah. Big Annie Fanny just can't get enough. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. You're right. C Star, you can't bring false charges as a group against citizens. Yeah, I agree, C Star. That it's a shame. Like I said, when we elect these people and we put them in these positions of trust, these positions of power, we hope that they're good people and they're going to make good decisions. But just because it's Donald Trump running for office and you don't like him or his policies or what he stands for, does not give you the right to go after him with the full weight of the law, to do anything and everything you can to take him out because you want to make a name for yourself, you want to get famous, and you want to be the superhero of the day. At least you think you're a superhero. Shame on you, Fanny. Shame on you, Nathan. You people should make better choices. We're not stupid. We know what's going on. And you do a disservice to your own community. You talk often about the race card and being black. You don't set a good example for young black boys and girls or Hispanic boy or any boys and girls. It's just a shame that you people engage in that type of nonsense. Stop it. Norman, my friend, hello to you. Thank you, C Star. And Mo McDonald looking at, yeah, he's got a good looking wife. Did y'all see that picture that I had of her a minute ago? She's a good looking woman. Let me see if I can get my screen to pull up here real quick. She's a good looking woman. I've never said that she was not a good looking woman. I've never seen an interview with her personally, but she is she's an attractive woman. I don't know what to say. Now, if you listen to Nathan Wade, he'll tell you that she's a cheater. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's false, but that's the allegation that she cheated on him. And again, if it's true or not true, but there she is right there in the middle, his wife. And I kind of made this thumbnail look like it was something from the National Enquirer. That was my object here. His wife is pretty. And Nathan's over here. What have I done? I just thought it was cute and cheesy. I hope you all liked it, you know. They always say to have a good thumbnail so you know, so you kind of know what's on, you kind of know what's going on, you know. So, all right, back on it here. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mo. I appreciate that. Special prosecutor sounds legit. Yep, absolutely. All right, my friend Norman, again, let's see. Have you seen this funny Nathan Wade name? It's day one when he took 30 seconds to answer that cabin question. Yeah, there is this cloud over Wade's head. Family will. Oh no, I know there's a bunch of funny memes and stuff like that on there right now. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all, my friend. Let's see yeah, I haven't seen it either. Sea Star. Lacey, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate having you, young lady. Thank you for being a subscriber. And I see Linda at Norman. Okay, you're talking back and forth to your friend Norman over there. There you go. All right. Back to Mo. Nathan's wife is beautiful. What a step down. Gotta be. Yeah, no doubt. That's one thing you can say about Nathan, that actually Nathan Wade, that makes me understand the man. Because let's be honest about it. Let's say he's getting paid $1 million. I'll just say that he has definitely earned his money, if you know what I'm saying. Because let's be straight up about this. All right. So follow me here. He is doing the work that no one else wants to do, right? That's just my opinion. That's but yeah, she is a beautiful woman. Just looking at the photo. I hate to be so judgmental of people based on looks, but hey, we're all that way, right? Just first glance, she's an attractive looking woman to me. And they've been married 26 years, and to file for divorce the day after ink a deal for $728,000 or whatever the final price ends up being, just makes you think, that's interesting. And in court filings, his soon to be ex wife Jocelyn has said unequivocally that she was basically living as, she was destitute. She had no money, no nothing. I'm sure that situation has changed pretty quickly with all these developments, but I would say he was definitely trying to take advantage of the situation. All right, Kim, John Floyd is okay. John Floyd. Okay, they don't have the same last name. I don't know what that's about, but it's probably Willis might be her married name because she does. I think she has a daughter. Something like that. All right, Kim, I sent an email to you about this person under Novel Connected. Okay, I'll take a look at that. Thanks, Kim. And back to Star. Yeah, Floyd. I interested. All right, Dolores. Hey, Dolores. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Sabatino in the house. Hey, Igor Engerine. I like to call him Engerine. Is exposed. He is crooked and corrupt. I'm going to have a lot to say about Judge Engerine. Wait till I show y'all the little bit of the juice I got on him. I think I've told you about the pictures online. He likes to take semi-nudie shots of himself and post them online for everyone to see. This guy is an individual that's an ex-cab driver. Not there's nothing wrong with being a cab driver, right? But he's an ex-cab driver, and he's sitting in judgment of a man worth $10 billion plus. Just something doesn't seem right, So that is what that is. Let's see. Hi, Renee. I am SDA, and my church wouldn't allow it. Mine wouldn't either. Half of them don't believe in voting, sadly. I don't agree with that. Yeah, I don't either. SDA, I think that's Seventh-day Adventists, I think. But thanks for telling us that. Renee, you make an interesting point. When I go to church, we hear about the gospel. We hear about finding our way to heaven, whatever. I'm sure your church is probably similar. And it's just extremely disappointing that two churches now that I know of have effectively given her a platform to commit blasphemy. I just can't imagine why they do that. Did they think that that's remotely okay? I would not be in a church that would do that. That's just wrong. And I'm not saying that the church is for perfect people. I get it. We're all sinners, right? But that's just wrong on so many levels to sit there and commit blasphemy like that. All right, Susan, we all had to overcome illness. He's no different. Yeah, I think he's made a good recovery. Good for him. I hope he does recover pretty good, Hey, Robbie. Thanks for joining us today from New York. Ed Jerry. Man, you are the man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Hi, Diane. Michael Abernathy. Yeah. Well, I tell you what a fall from grace. He was talking about being president. I don't know if y'all remember him or not. I should pull his picture up here, but I'm sure y'all remember who I'm talking about. He just went to his head and went to his head quick. That fame bit him, and he just could not. He just He just couldn't get organized. It was just too much for him to overcome. And I hate to see anybody set in a cage like that, to be perfectly honest with you. Even him, I just can't stand that guy. But it is what it is, right, folks? Share, thanks for joining us, Share Coates. Let's see here. I've heard on left-wing shows they are blaming Trump for their mistakes, like turning these people into victims. Ridiculous. 23 Soros-funded DAs, judges, laws. I agree with you. You know, listen, we live in a great country. I mean, it is really special. I've mentioned before that it's so great. You can even get your news the way you want your news. If you are on the far left, get your news from MSNBC. If you're just a little wacky, not all the way wacky, then turn over to CNN. If you're more conservative or have a more family values, right? We know what we're talking about, but then you can listen to Fox News or yours truly. It's not that I consider myself any one party or the other. I just figure I stand for common sense. Just that simple. Just common sense. I think that's where most people are. I think the difference in someone like us versus the legacy media and some of these left-winged people is we're not as vocal. I mean, we're just not. And oftentimes, a lot of these communication companies, they are owned by people that just have a left-wing type of existence platform, and they subline a lot of the conservative channels. I think that's pretty fair assertion. But yeah, sure. Cher, thank you for bringing that to our attention there. The Lilo Show, it's up. Okay. Hello, Linda again. Yes, same thing. I agree. My smooth 49. Yeah, see, that is what's going to get them caught because they're being too greedy with a hand in the cookie jar. I totally agree with you there. Okay, let me see where I'm at here. Okay, yeah, Engeron he is a weird looking dude, isn't he? He's got that weird look to his face. He's got when he first had that trial, he's just got that weird smirk, kind of like, you know, just weird. I don't know. I have a couple thumbnails where I made fun of his face. I think it's kind of cute the way I just think it's interesting. But man, being able to sit in judgment of somebody like that, and then I think he said between all the judgments, Trump's going to have to cough up like a $500 million in cash. Folks, do you know that's more than some places or some countries' gross domestic product? That is a ton of money. Now, I'll tell you one other thing, too, about that case. I don't want to get off too deep into this. I know they said he has to come up with all that money in order to stop all of these executions. But what I don't hear covered a lot as far as his assets go, he can immediately go to the Court of Appeals or even one of the other tribunals that might hear the case. And he could ask for a waiver of the bond. I would encourage him to do that. Just say, hey, this is a unique situation. Please stop this and, do me some props here. Stop this type of bond or cash that I have to put up because it's just terrible. And the second thing I want to tell you is what's called, so like you got a judgment, right? And when someone's going to collect on a judgment, so they have a $350-400 million judgment against them, the state of New York does. Well, they have to do what's called execute the judgment. They have to actually go out and take Donald Trump's property. And that sounds easy, but it's not as easy as it sounds because, first of all, they generally have to do a lot of discovery. It's kind of like another trial to try to find where his assets are, because I'm certain someone like Donald Trump, with all the money he's made over the years, he has to have a lot of his assets in different LLCs or different trusts, or better than that, what they call limited partnerships and things like this. He just has to have more common sense than just to have his properties in the name of Donald J. Trump. I can almost assure you that that's the way it is. And the other point I want to make, if the state, let's just say the state did execute, let's just say they took a building to satisfy the judgment, there's a lot of risk into doing that because, it depends on the state law. But in most states, you can still appeal even if you don't put up the bond. It just means that they can try to execute the judgment. For example, foreclose on a building. But here's the risk for whoever comes after you. And in this case, it'd be the state of New York. It's called wrongful levy. That's what it's called under the law. So let's just say Donald Trump doesn't put a bond up. He still appeals and is allowed to appeal it. And let's say it's overturned on appeal. The state of New York's got a big problem. And I mean a big problem, because they are now going to be hammered for wrongful levy. And I'm telling you, that is some serious, serious dollars. And I mean, I don't know how many zeros would be on the end of that one, if you know what I'm saying, if indeed that happened. Generally, again, what I've seen in most cases in a situation like that is most creditors are going to wait until all of the appeals are completely exhausted before they engage in some type of execution. Now, they might do some more discovery, like we were talking about: interrogatories, requests for admission, requests for production of documents. They may take his deposition, again, all trying to narrow down where his assets are and what entities that they're in. I'm pretty certain that's going to happen no matter what. But as far as to go out and actually take his asset, that is a risk. They might do it just because they want the publicity of going out there and ripping his name off Trump Building downtown New York. But we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So let's take a look at our next message right here. All right, so I appreciate all them comments. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, let's see what's in dark. Okay, yeah, I agree. Just watch it and see what happens. Folks, that's one other thing to remember too. What you're seeing going on with Donald Trump and this judgment, this is not a new thing. What's new about it is we're all seeing it happen to a very powerful and wealthy man and in the public limelight. This has been going on my entire life. You come across the wrong person that doesn't like you, and they're in one of these deep state positions, you're in trouble. You're in very, very bad trouble. It's really just that simple. You come across someone that doesn't like you. It can be something as simple as what's going on right now. Your parties don't line up. Someone's a Republican, someone's a Democrat. But more often than not, what it's been my experience, what I've seen, is it's someone that just doesn't like someone else. For example, someone is a secretary of a particular office or an administrator. Basically, they're the boss of a particular department in a federal branch of or a federal office of some sort, like a Office of Consumer Affairs. The feds have an office, I think it's called the Office of Consumer Protection. There's, like, for example, Fish and Game Wars. They got a million different agencies. And if you have somebody that just doesn't like you for whatever reason, you made them mad, you wrote them a letter they don't like, you said something to their face. For example, Donald Trump, he's not exactly Mr. Congeniality. I'm sure he rubbed this guy really the wrong way, but that shouldn't be a reason to lose everything you've ever worked for. But this is the type thing that happens. It's extremely unfair. They need to put a stop to it. But this is something that's been going on for a long time. And maybe if maybe with enough exposure and people seeing this for what this is, maybe things will change. We'll just have to wait and see. Let's put it this way. I know a lot of people, a lot of chit chat on the internet and stuff. People don't want anything to do with New York City. If they can do that to Donald Trump, they don't want to walk around. And I mean, think about it. If you had a big pile of money, you wanted to invest it, would you put it and invest it in New York State right now? I wouldn't. There's so many other places to invest your money. Why go to a jurisdiction that does that to people? I wouldn't do it. And you got the governor of New York essentially saying, hey, you know what? Basically, this is a one-off. We just had to crucify Donald Trump because we just had to crucify him. And we did it, but it's over with. Don't worry about it. The rest of the individuals, you don't have anything to worry about. Yeah, I don't think so. Robbie, how does this end? My prediction, this is just my prediction. I think there is a lot of people very upset about what's going on right now in our country. Look at me. I'm sitting around talking about it. I'm sitting around chit-chatting about it. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean anything insulting by this. This doesn't make me wealthy. My channel just recently got monetized, and I don't even know how much money I'll make doing a few videos like this. But I can assure you it's not much. I pay $2.99 a month just for the StreamYard. And I mean $299 just for StreamYard for the service. And I'm not complaining. It's a good service, and I'm happy to do this. And I'm very pleased that God put me in a position where I can talk to folks. I hope that I'm helping people one way or the other. And you'd be surprised how many people contact me just to ask questions like, why does the government do this? Or how does that work? Or kid, what would you do? I'm happy to help individuals. It makes me feel good. I like giving back. I like to help. It's all good. It's all so. And by the way, thanks for the super chats coming in. We'll address those in a second. But I can assure you, money is not the top of my agenda. I am very, very happy to do what I can to help the country that I love so much and the people that all reside here. Because at the end of the day, we are all extremely, extremely blessed. There's just no other way to say it. There are problems. These subjects can be very aggravating. It does seem like we live in a world where no one cares and no one listens to us, and we're made to feel like we are weird or sick or deranged because we don't believe the crap that is thrown at us all the time. If we believe something, we're a denier. We're an election denier. We're a climate denier. We get these labels, and we're basically taught to act like we're fools. Try to have a conversation with someone about creation. Like I have my beliefs that there's just no way all of this could have just happened. Period. I don't see it. But if you say that publicly, people, it's kind of like George W. Bush. Remember back in the day when he was talking like this? They made him, I mean, people were laughing at him on TV. They were literally laughing at him. And I just shake my head. I'm like, what does everybody else not see? I see nothing in the world that just appears magically. Nothing. I don't see anything that appears. And I don't want to go too deep in this tangent. But even the rules of thermodynamics, I believe it's the second rule of thermodynamics, say that everything goes from an organized system to a disorganized system. If you don't believe me, walk out of your house, lock the door, and come back in 10 years. Don't touch anything, by the way. Just come back in 10 years, see what it looks like. I promise you, you're not going to have another story added to your house. It's not going to get a new paint job, and it's not going to look better than when you left. But yet they want you to believe that our bodies, as sophisticated and complicated as they are, just somehow, But this is the world we live in. We're treated like we're idiots. And it's a good thing that we can talk about it and we can assure one another we are not idiots. We have a free mind. We are free thinkers. And until the Lord takes me home, that's exactly the way I'm going to believe. And I'm going to spread that message as far as wide as I can. So, thanks for that comment, Robbie, by the way. Yes, hit the like button. Thank you, Kim, for reminding me. Thanks. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. Sapphire Ridge Acres. I like it. Kemp H. Trump. Okay. Who's Kemp? What am I missing there? Kemp. Who's that? Is that, you put that in the comment and I'll take a look at that. Sorry, but I appreciate. I'll figure it out here in a second. All right, Gloria, good to see you. Thank you for being on our channel here. Michael Abernathy was treated by the corrupt MSM and MSNBC, CNN like a god. Yeah, he was. You're exactly right, Gloria. And he was supposed to run for president. Yeah, what a fraud. You guys ought to look up a couple of videos on him. It's extremely, extremely interesting. All right, Robbie. Can another attorney handle something like this that's not in the law loop? Yeah, they can. I got to fix my chair again. I'm going to have to get a new chair. I think I keep sinking during the show. It's kind of like I'm disappearing. Maybe that's a good timer. I know when to call it a day is when I get up to right about here. I don't know. At any rate, yes, can another attorney handle something like this that is not in the law? Well, it obviously has to be an attorney, like you said. It has to be another attorney. But I forgot who was supposed to take over the case if she loses the case. I think they already have someone in mind, but it's unclear as to how motivated another person would want to take over the case. As I've been saying for quite some time, generally, there is no motivation for another attorney to pick up another attorney's nasty, messy, disorganized case. there's no glory in it. Fannie Willis herself said one of the main reasons she hired lover boy Nathan Wade was no other attorney wanted this case. And I believe. Remember, the testimony in court was even former Governor Roy Barnes was brought to the stand, and he said he was approached to handle the case as the special prosecutor, but he didn't want it. He just said he did not want that type of focus and attention, and didn't want to have to live with bodyguards. And he can say what he wants. I can just tell you straight up, if he thought it was a valid case, he would have probably taken the case. That's just my opinion. What I think happened is what we all know that happened. Fannie Willis out trying to make a name for herself. She's a corrupt individual. She's been running this corruptness for some time, and she brought it to another level with Donald Trump and putting the entire world's focus on her. And thank God for attorney Ashley Merchant. Can't say enough about her, how great she is to dig. Like, one of the motions we're going to review, it's a supplemental motion of Michael Roman, who is her client. She calls it out the way I've been saying it. She just says it straight up. And what she says, paraphrasing, is, hey, if it would not have been for me and my efforts of looking into this case, none of this would have ever likely been known. None of this would have been known. We wouldn't have known about the affair. We wouldn't have known about the enrichment of the DA. It's just kind of shocking to think all this would have been buried in the persecution. And yes, I did say persecution of Donald Trump and associates would have just continued. Thank you for that comment, Robbie. I appreciate that. A&A Smooth 49, it is what you call, I got caught. Yeah, I got caught. Yep, exactly right. Hello, Michael Waycaster. When are we going to hear what the judge is going to do? Friday, my friend. Friday, we're going to hear something. Now, he may simply say, I need more time to think about it. I mean, he's the judge. He can do whatever he wants. The good news for Donald Trump in this case, it's going to be delayed at about a month. All of this just keeps delaying everything. And let's just say he makes a decision Friday. What's his decision? A decision to hear more testimony, because one of the main things they still have to address is the ex-law partner, Terrence Bradley. His testimony is critical, and we're not going to have time tonight to talk about it, but at the end of the last hearing, the last day they were having evidence admitted, the judge even said a comment that came out of Bradley's mouth, had the judge say something to the effect of, hey, I'm going to have to think about this. It may be the case that Mr. Terrence Bradley has misinterpreted everything I've told him in relation to attorney-client privilege. So, in other words, Bradley says he was essentially the uncompensated attorney for Nathan Wade, because he says he was handling Nathan Wade's divorce. To me, it sounds like BS. And you don't even have to technically pay an attorney to be your attorney. There's a lot of pro bono cases that goes on all the time. Pro bono meaning free. So there's just a lot of corruption, a lot of nonsense going on. And unfortunately, the judge has to dig through that. And for Donald Trump and associates, the good news is time means freedom. It means good things for the defense. So amen on that, brother. Thank you for the question, Michael. And Sapphire again. If the judge DQs her office, then it must be assigned to another DA in the state of Georgia. Also, if she's DQ'd, any of the defendants can move for a dismissal of the case. Yeah, I agree with that. The thing is what I've been saying is, let's just say she's disqualified and her office is disqualified. You're right. It's going to go to someone else, but they don't know who it's going to go to. And I believe one of the individuals that was named has a reputation of simply sitting on it, because the individual that has been named as the likely next attorney, if you will, has another case. I think it's involving the Georgia, I don't remember if it was lieutenant governor or whatever, and they were looking into some kind of allegations on let's just call it another elected official, and nothing has happened in the case. It just has been on a shelf, so to speak. So it's very possible that if she's removed, her office removed, first of all, the case should be entirely dismissed because the case is a bad case. The case is what we call fruit of the poisonous tree. The poisonous tree is Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade. It's just that simple. But let's say the judge does not see it the way I see it, but yet he removes her off of the case and Nathan Wade and the DA, the Fulton County DA's office by extension, off the case. All that is great. But I'm just saying that the next person down the line, so to speak, may not do anything. It may just die. Just that simple. He may just actually move for dismissal. Thank you for that question, Sapphire. Always wanting more silver. According to his lawyer on Fox today, he has the cash already. Yeah, I think so too. I've heard reports similar to that. Thank you. And Robbie, didn't Donnie just accumulate 11 bill 2 days ago? See, Donnie, I guess you're talking about Donald Trump and accumulate. I'm not sure if I follow you, but it sounds like a swipe, but I'm not sure, my friend. I don't know. Sherry, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That is very kind of you. I appreciate all of y'all that have supported the channel and continue to support the channel. It truly is appreciated. Soros funded DAs, AGs 22 or 23 so far lost their jobs due to ethics crimes and the sheer incompetence. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Sherry. I'm not surprised at all. Sherry continues the article in the New York Post about the DAs, AGs who Soros funded lost jobs. Yeah, I amen, right? Always wanting more silver. Yeah, I seen Kevin O'Leary said he won't ever do business in New York. And there's a lot of people talking like that. And you're right. Kevin O'Leary is all over Fox News today talking. But he was on other channels also saying exactly that. There's a lot of people outraged by this, folks. How can you justify doing business in the state of New York when it's clear the state of New York does not allow for the rule of law? I mean, that's a strong thing to say, but it's true. You have a DA there in New York City that releases people that attack police, but they go after and criminally charge individuals that defend citizens from individuals that are deranged. You have an attorney general that ran on a platform that I'm going to get that guy and I'm going to give him his just desserts. And she charges him with a very serious civil fraud case where there is no victim. The banks he allegedly defrauded said, no, we don't see any fraud. If we knew then what we know now, we would have still have given him the same terms under the same conditions gladly. And we want more business from Mr. Donald Trump and his companies. So it's really hard to see anybody wanting to be real excited about doing business in New York. That's just the way I see it. Something Andrew McCarthy said today is that these 18 people have been charged with RICO and they don't know each other. Yeah, that's that is true. They have been a lot of the people in this RICO action. You know, the idea behind the RICO is that you work together as a unit. You collude together. You know, your friends, associate, family, or whatever. You're in the mafia. You're together and you're working on and conspiring to commit crimes. Well, a lot of the individuals in this so-called RICO case don't know each other. They just don't know each other, period. It's kind of imagine how they colluded with each other as a unit, but that it is what it is. And then Robbie, the civil intelligent will always be blessed peoples. Amen. All right. You said she liked Donald. I'm out of here. Okay. See you later, Luke. I don't know what you're talking about, but adios. Robbie, they've been setting up Donnie for a long time. Yeah, they sure have, Robbie. Absolutely. Unfortunately. I'm glad you have this channel, like listening to what you're saying. Gloria, I love you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That makes me feel good when I hear feedback like that. Good, bad, indifference. Always good to have feedback from all of y'all. I appreciate it. More silver. Governor of Georgia Kemp. Yep, Brian Kemp. Absolutely. Governor of Georgia. Oh, it is the, okay. Robbie, you know what law loop means? Law loop. I don't know if I do or not. You can tell me what it means. And Gloria, how did Fannie ever come up with the RICO charges? She was way overhead Yeah, you know, Gloria, she has a reputation of RICO. She's brought other RICO action in recent years. It's something that she has obviously seen in the law books, and she said, that's what I'm going to use. It's probably the strongest, most heavy handed law that a prosecutor has at their discretion. And in my opinion, she doesn't use any discretion. When she wants you, she hits you with that. And that is a devastating charge to be hit with, is a RICO action. It just scares the bejesus out of anybody that's faced with that. You want to know why people plead guilty that are innocent? This is the reason. You want to try to control the outcome. You want to try not to have a moral turpitude type of problem where you can no longer practice your profession, no matter what you're licensed in. Like if you're a nurse or a school teacher, you also don't want to take a risk in front of a jury where the jury doesn't know that upon conviction, it's a mandatory 20 years. So what happens a lot of times is the jury says, well, they look guilty. We'll go ahead and say guilty. And then they found out they just sent some grandmother to 20 years hard time in the pen. And then they have regrets because you're not allowed to tell the jury in most states what the potential penalty is. I don't think any state allows it, but to my knowledge, it's just generally not allowed. So it's a scary world out there. So you end up pleading just to try to make the problem go away quickly with some kind of control over the problem without bankrupting yourself trying to have an attorney that can represent you. And trust me, you don't want a public defender. You don't want to don't we don't want to go down that road. Yep, Brian Kemp, thank you, Sherry, Robbie. Does this just disappear in scandal? The scandal will still involve the big, yeah. If nothing else, Robbie, this case is marked for what it is. It is a corrupt case of what we call in the legal profession a poisonous tree, and it needs to die. I hope the judge has enough strength to call this what it is, as a illegitimate case born from corruption. The father of this case is corruption, and the mother is Fannie Willis. Damn, that sounded pretty good. I need to write that down. But seriously, that's exactly what that is. It's corruption, period. Thank you, Robbie, for that, by the way. Okay, NJ Smooth 49. This wouldn't even been going on if she wouldn't start messing with Donald. Yeah, I agree. They could have just kept their little scams and their honest service fraud stuff going. Published reports say it's always been water cooler discussions, but nothing serious. But apparently, it's now something they probably wish they wouldn't have done. So it is what it is. I think she's up for election now, believe it or not. I think there's an election in just a few months, is what I heard. This is an election year for the DA's office, and there's been a lot of talk who's going to run against her. Generally, it's always a contested position, meaning there's an opponent, but we don't know for sure who is going to be running against her. But that will be another interesting angle that I will check out. Thank you, Robbie. Let's see. Sherry, a relative works in state government in West Virginia, and several big businesses have contacted the governor about. Well, yeah, I hope so, Sherry. I think that's if businesses would leave, I think that will send a strong message. No doubt about that. Always wanting more silver. So now what happens to the ones who have already had their hearings? I get that question a lot too. And the question is, I don't know. It depends. I would say there's definite grounds to go back. If you're within a certain amount of dates, you're entitled to appeals and stuff like this anyways. I would think that there is a option that they could go back and have it open, but I doubt they're going to want to do that, even if the case is dismissed. Now, I want to change it. If the case is outright dismissed because of fraud, then they might want to do that. But if the case continues in any form or fashion, they're going to want to stay with what they got, because generally the people that have pled guilty are people that are lawyers and they want to keep their law license. And this plea deal they reached has the finding that there was no moral turpitude situation. Therefore, it spells it out. They can keep their law license. There's no jail time. There's a fine, community service, and they get to know that they were screwed over by a corrupt district attorney, unfortunately. Robbie, not a swipe. Let's see, Donnie. Let's see, Donnie. I guess we're talking about Donald Trump. Reminds me of my uncensored Uncle Donnie. Oh, okay, I got you. His media company didn't win a big suit to. Oh, okay. Uh, all right, yeah. And listen, Robbie, as I tell people all the time with this channel, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with what I say or whatever. I just ask everybody be respectful, be polite. I had one person that had a comment, just regular comment. He used the F word, and I just deleted them. I had someone else call someone fools. You can look it up in the chats, not in the live chat. It's like in the chats on videos that are just published. The word that particular word, it was fine. I just left it. I mean, it's right on the borderline, but I just don't like the profanity, especially the F word. There's just no reason for that. So if we can all, I mean, it's fine. Hey, I disagree with you. I think you're wrong. You people don't know what. Hey, I can deal with that all day. We just need to keep it proper. And thank you, Robbie, for keeping it where it should be. I appreciate you. And Gloria, she may have Rico knowledge, but Wade is clueless. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm going to be making a part 4. A part 4 is my plan on the incompetence of Nathan Wade. So y'all be looking for that video because those videos do really, really well for me, and it's. I mean, it seemed to be very popular because I sit down and I go through the trial or the motion proceeding or whatever. And I mean, just picking it apart. And what's interesting about it is when you watch the video at that time, we did not know this individual had no experience, especially no experience with any type of felonious case. That's what's interesting about this whole thing. So when you go back and you look at it through the prism of time with the knowledge now that he has no training with these type of RICO cases, he doesn't even have felony training. We cannot find one single felonious case this individual has tried, and that judge label he has, as I've said many times, that is hype, because generally he's filling in for someone on vacation or someone's sick or they're on a rotating base so they can pad their resume to say they were a judge. But essentially, it was kind of like they starred in an episode of Night Court. That was kind of effectively what it means to be a judge. So don't let anybody pull the wool over your eyes. That's where the free mind comes in, is you get to hear that story so you know exactly what we're talking about. A&A Smooth 49, be cool. Yeah, well, that's, hey, this is a conversation I don't normally have to have, and I don't really like having the conversation. I mean, we're all adults. We need to be like you. We need to be smooth, right? That's the way I look at it. Sherry, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel again. I mean, it's fantastic. Dems go after Trump supporters. The agenda is to break them, bankrupt them into pleading guilty, and use this for talking points to slander these. So this is exactly right. Exactly something I agree with. The idea with what they're trying to do with Donald Trump now is to keep him so tied up in the courts that he can't campaign. They're trying to get a felony label on him so they can campaign on the fact he's a felonious individual. They're hoping with that label there's something they can do to prevent him from actually being on a ballot or assuming office or whatever. They're always looking for a way to defeat him because they know on the actual ballot they are in trouble, especially with the current state of President Joe Biden. And this is something we will definitely be exploring together. Thank you again, Sherry, for your support. And A&A, I'm about to become your moderator today. Hey, okay, that's something we can definitely do. I had not a problem with that. Linda, thank you so much. So I want to shout out the folks here that helped the channel tonight. Brooks, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Should Pinal County go after Obama for murder because of Fast and Furious now? Okay. All right. I haven't heard that, but I meant, hey, you know what? We survived Obama. We can survive Joe Biden, I'm hoping. Again, thank you, Sherry. I appreciate your support twice, actually. Wow. Thank you, sweetheart. I really appreciate that. I appreciate all of you. So I really do. Folks, we've been over 2 hours now. My voice can only handle so much. I want you all to know how much I appreciate you joining me, having a conversation with me. Yeah, I know you've already hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification so you know when I go live. If you need anything from me, you know how to reach out to me at the email address down there at the bottom at reachjrdukes.com. Again, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. I always say, folks, keep that free mind. Never give up. And until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.